Welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm so grateful to be here today with you guys with one of my fellow coaches, Danielle Amos. So thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you, Heather. I'm grateful to be here.
I'm so grateful to have Danielle on the Own It Show, where we help uncommon knowledge become common. And we're here to inspire, educate, and serve. And Danielle was one of the people who helped me transform my self image, double my revenue, create a new glass ceiling, which I'm now breaking, and truly break through a glass ceiling that I had been trying to break through for like a decade. So huge hats off to Danielle. She's got so many great tips to share with you today. And so without further ado, thank you so much for being on the show. Let's share a little bit more about you and what you do and your entrepreneur journey, and then a piece of advice for the listeners that maybe you wish you knew before you got started.
Cool. Well, first of all, Heather, I want to say thank you so much and congratulations and really acknowledge you, how far you've come, what you've built, and all of the people that you've served and are going to serve in your career. Heather joined, like you were one of the first people that I worked so closely with. So just seeing you thrive brings so much joy to me. I always knew that you would go off and do this amazing business, and yeah, so I'm really grateful. So what a full circle back moment for us. Really huge.
Absolutely. So it was December 5th, I believe, 2017. And I signed up for Thinking to Results with Danielle because I was tired of bouncing off my own glass ceiling, getting the same results over and over again. And with her work and Bob Proctor's work and her mentorship, I was able to truly shift my results and to create my life by design, which I thought I had. And my calendar was so full, and then I really was able to truly create it so much more by design, so much that I just had 5 days off, which when I used to work with Danielle, I was doing like 7 days a week, 18-hour days. So big shift in life and perspective and results and what I get to do. And you're a huge catalyst in that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So like what I do, I'm a coach, and I am one of Bob Proctor's proteges. So Heather mentioned the program that she invested in with us, and
One of the many.
yeah, true. And I didn't start off as a coach, though. I actually came from a corporate career that on the outside, everything was working really well in my life. You know, if you saw me, you probably assumed that everything was great, but I really didn't love working for another person, and I wanted to become an entrepreneur. And for me, that meant I said yes to network marketing. It felt like a really great gateway to open up the entrepreneur journey. And I assumed I'd go right to the top of my company. And I didn't. I actually struggled for years, and I kept thinking something was wrong with me. And if only I like got the secret or like the right book and read it and went to the right conference. And so I just kept doing this. And I was on such a self-help, almost like addictive journey, trying to find out what was wrong. And I had no idea that I was actually programmed for the results that I was currently getting until I met Bob Proctor. And listen, I think I'm very much like you, Heather. I know that you're so well educated. You've read all the books. And so when you and I met, we had that in common, that we like are, we were both so keen on studying this, and we could say it, all the right things, but yet our results showed something different. And that was me. I eventually quit my corporate job, jumped into network marketing, assumed I'd go to the top, didn't. And that meant that I went into a lot of debt because I still had my expenses, but not the income. And after being $100,000 in debt and completely freaking out, super stressed, that's when I said yes to Bob Proctor's work. And in the 6 months, I tripled my income. And in the moment, I realized that there wasn't something wrong with me. I just lacked understanding and awareness of how the mind worked. And I needed to teach other women, especially other people, that there's nothing wrong with them. That in fact, when we can learn how to master our mindset and change our identity and our understanding of who we are, we can have anything we want. And so years later, now I've created a multi-million-dollar business with clients all over the world. And I've become a coach because I'm so passionate about this material.
I love that. And it's been amazing to watch you grow, like truly amazing. You were just getting started out, and I was so grateful to have found you. I squeezed coming into your event in between like work and a soccer game. And I was like, I like you. Here's my number. Call me later. I can't stay for the whole thing, but what you're doing, I need to know. And it really set my life on a total different trajectory because I was doing the same thing over and over again and literally had no more time to trade for money, couldn't work any harder, and something had to change. And every time I would almost go and break that glass ceiling, into a trauma or a circumstance that would literally bring me back down. And once I had the awareness about what we're going to talk today about, that self-image, that glass ceiling being what I kept bouncing off of that would bring me back down, once I had an understanding of that and I could work on changing my beliefs and myself and my mindset, then I actually got double the results, half the amount of time and energy and effort. And it's still a journey. I'm just going to be clear to everyone.
Yeah.
It's still a growth journey. You have to do the do. There's no such thing as something for nothing. And I wouldn't trade it for the world because it is allowing me to grow into the person and the life that I wouldn't trade for anything. So I'm so grateful for you. And guys, we have so many great tips. We're going to dive into really what is the self-image and the mindset and how to own that millionaire self-image, which is what Danielle has done, because I've watched her go from the $100,000 in debt to the multi-million-dollar company, traveling the world, running incredible retreats, inspiring women, not being at effect of her circumstances, and just putting one foot in front of the other and owning it every single day in every single way. So I'm so excited about your tips. So we'd love to share tips on your zone of genius. So we're talking about how to own that millionaire self-image today. So take it away.
Yeah. So for the first tip is to understand what you want. So the life that you want. And it sounds like, like what's your dream? What's your goal? Those are questions that as a coach, we hear a lot, we ask a lot. However, it's like super specific. So my first tip is to become really clear on the what you want to have, do, and be. And in all areas of your life. So don't leave anything off the table. You've got a magic wand in your hand and literally really think about it. So in the beginning, you'll start to think about like more general items, like maybe a new house, a new place to live, or a new partner, or a partner in general, relationship, right? And we put those things on the list, and then I want you to keep going deeper, like what exactly does the house look like? Where is it? How many windows? How many rooms? What side of the street would you like it on? All of these details. And most importantly, after you know the what, it's like, how does it feel to actually be in the home, to live in the home, to know that you own it? And really getting connected to why it's important to you and dig deep. So my tip is detailed. What?
And I want to add to that because that's so important because your mind knows the difference between real and imagined. So as you start to build the picture of that house in your mind and you begin to live in it in your mind, it literally knows the difference between real and imagined. And if you've worked with us, we have a reticular activation system in the brain, which is literally filtering out information from our environment, from tens of thousands of bits of information down to chunks of 5 or 7. And then that's what you actually see. And it's going to only be what's in an alignment where your focus is. So one of the main reasons is just to help you own your brain. And then the second is that your brain knows no difference between real and imagined. And every single thought has a thought impulse. So you're creating thought impulses out into the quantum field to say, I would like this. And then we can attract it back. And what most people do is they get stopped right here because they have a hard time getting into possibility, because we instantly insert excuse, reason, and alibi of why we can't have it. I really like this, but I really like this, but I'd really like this. Insert any excuse, reason, alibi, and I call it our Santa sack of shit that we carry around. And then anytime someone's like, I'd really like that, you're like, me too, but let me hang on a second. And we got to pull out a thing to be the reason. And that's part of your glass ceiling. That's part of your belief system. That's part of your self-image. So note that Danielle said, Not what do you think you can have? She said, what do you want? And then you have to be in possibility. She said, wave a magic wand. You can have whatever you wanted. What would it be? And just for today, be in possibility. And just for today, what if anything could happen? And then just be in the magic. And this is where most people lose right here. They can't get into possibility enough to even play in their mind of what they could have if they could have whatever they wanted. And thus they'll never get it. And then you have to add all those fine details into it. So if you are sitting there thinking, that sounds lovely, but just note that's the first step. Remove the but, put an and then just be in imagination, just be in possibility, because just what if it worked?
Totally. And I find that the word that stops most people is how. Like, if you cannot see how, we're trained to believe that there isn't a way. But like Heather said, like, what if that's not true? And what if the how is not up to you? And so remove that 3-letter word. Like, it's the worst word that you could even bring up right now, because the moment your imagination hears how, it stops working.
Yes, that creative process gets halted. When we are setting a goal, we only want to focus on our desire, not the how. The how and the plan and all the things can come later, but when you're first deciding what you want, that's it. You have to just be in imagination. Otherwise, that reasoning mind comes in. It's like, that's nice, but insert, that's good. You can't. How would that work? And just note that that's happening every day, all day. You're like, that's a really nice car. You can't have that because how would you pay for it? Insert excuse, reason, and alibi. So note that in the creation of the goal, the how is not needed, because that stifles the creation process and doesn't actually allow you to get into possibility. So just decide what you want and add as much detail as possible. I
Yeah.
love it.
And after you know the what, then it's like, who am I to have those things? Like, who would I be? And notice that the who in your mind, you're already see that it's not the who that we're talking to right now, today. And this is a good thing, because the purpose of a goal is growth. And so you really need to grow into the person that is doing those things, having those things, and being that person. And this is where self-image comes into play, because the transformation happens within you and how you view yourself first. And it literally dictates everything else around you. The who, not how.
Note that she says how you see yourself first
Yeah.
dictates everything else around you. So every single thought has a physiological response. And in the study of epigenetics, epi meaning above genetics, turning on the genes is happening via the consciousness. And the consciousness is our thoughts and how we're seeing ourselves. So I just like to say, give yourself a pat on the back. You made it this far. Good for you. Like, amazing. And this version of you is just not going to get you there. And that's okay. So pause. Danielle asked you, what did you want? So you created a picture of it in your mind. Now pause and see, who is that person being? What's different? Do you have different thoughts? Do you act differently? Do you dress differently? How are you showing up in this new life, this new version, and this new desire? Because you attract who you're being, because that's the frequency that we're in. And that's the law of vibration, which is the primary law. The law of attraction is the secondary law, and it says you'll attract back what you're in harmony with, and what you're in harmony with is what you're vibrating at. So if your thoughts are triggering your vibration, then we would want to be thinking about who we would be with the goal achieved. And I think for a lot of people, sounds simple, but maybe it's actually probably one of the hardest things that they do or can do. So what would you say for somebody's like, okay, so how do I show up like that version of me today? How would I be that? What would you say?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's important that you get a really, really clear picture. So the questions that Heather and I are asking you are really important. I wouldn't skip over them lightly, like actually take time, come back to this recording, pause it, journal, and break it down so that you can actually get the details of what, then who you are. And then from there, the next step is for you to really embody it. So to become this version of you. And that's where the rubber meets the road, we call it praxis, where your beliefs are integrated with the way that you behavior. And this is a missing for most people. So this is really where it usually stops and what differentiates those who are getting results and those that aren't. So, because we can know all the knowledge in our mind, but unless we embody it in our beingness, meaning that we're in praxis, walking with the knowledge and behaving with as if we believe the knowledge, then we won't get the results. Okay, so how you do this? Well, you take a look at the growth. So at the moment, you're looking at your ideal life, your perfect life, everything you want, and who you are being in that life. And you isolate it, and then you notice what's different from where you are now to where you want to go. And I often use that, because we think in pictures. So if I can say, and I like to make it easy for myself. So let's give everyone an example. So right now I'm earning $50,000 a year, and my goal is to 10x that, $500,000 a year, or to turn your yearly income into your monthly, which is a good goal, isn't it? A fun one. So, and that's something that I like to show people how to do, is like yearly to monthly. So let's just make it easy, 50,000 to 500,000. Well, what's the difference? It's easy to see the different actions. Like, I would be driving a different car. I'd be wearing different clothes. My hair would look different. Fine. Let's make a list of some of those and ask yourself, which one of these can I actually integrate now? And this becomes your to-do list. So maybe I go from driving a Toyota, nothing wrong with Toyota, I love Toyota Yaris at 50,000, and my goal is to drive a Porsche. Okay, so what I would do is I wouldn't go out and buy the Porsche right now, because that's not in alignment to my physical reality. However, what can I do around the Porsche car that would have me move into the energy of my goal achieved? Well, I could test drive that Porsche car. I could go to the dealership, show up, ask questions about it, and be the person with that $500,000 a year income, act that way, and go test drive the car. Now, what happens for most people are they're like, I can't do that. I don't have the money to buy a car. Well, no one said to go buy the car. I just want you to go show up as if you did in that energy, and ask yourself, as I'm walking into Porsche, how would I be walking? Me with my goal achieved. Is my posture different? Do I smile? Am I nervous, or am I full on confident because I've got the cash to buy this car? And continue to clean up your energy. And what I find for most people, Heather, I think you would agree, is most people won't even step into that shop because they don't have the self-image to match it. And that shows them the growth. So it's like, you've got to get yourself so that you can go to that shop and ask to test drive the car like you own it already, and stay until you feel comfortable. And right there, that's a breakthrough moment.
Love it. I love it. We actually used this with my dad in our business bliss workshop a couple of years ago. Manifesting and all of this is a little bit newer to him. So I just said, just for today, just try it on. Because what if it worked? Just what if try it on? So let's go on. And he was picking a car based on what he thought he could get. And I said, let's just go in and pick out what you want. Okay, well, I want this, and I want this, and I want this. I'm like, okay, amazing. We found one. Let's go test drive it. My mom was like, no, we're going to do more research. I'm like, no, we don't need to research anything. Found the car, just drive it. That's it. Okay, perfect. So he goes, test drives it Wednesday. Decides it's not the car he wants. On the way home, he gets an intuitive hit. His nephew works at a dealership. He's going to stop in and see his nephew on the way home. And there was a car perfectly clean that was going to be sold, but then the person decided it was too fast and they didn't take it. And it was literally sitting right there up front. And he was like, that's the one. Test drove it, got home. And I was like, okay, well, let's be in possibility. And then next thing we know, we went through a couple of different ways, and then my brother bought it for him, paid in full, and it was in the driveway by Saturday. So Tuesday to Saturday. And if he didn't go and test drive it, he wouldn't have had the intuitive hit to stop with the nephew on the way back. And then he wouldn't have had a car that my brother was happily able to gift for him. He would have maybe still been looking for a car. So that's the magic. So he wasn't going to go. Most people weren't going to go. And I was like, well, just for fun, Dad, you told me you were going to do the workshop. This is part of it. This is the do part, 4th stage of manifesting: idea, thought, plan, action. You got to do. So he went and he did the thing. I was like, just pretend like it's yours. And in his driveway by Saturday, that was 5 days.
That's amazing. I love that. And here's the thing, you couldn't have predicted it. Like, the ideas that came to him weren't available where in his like right now everyday life. He had to actually get into possibility to even go have the idea to test drive that car, it's so cool. I love it.
And then to have that car just happen to be there. The other person was like, no, it's not for me. And I was like, I will take that, Speedy Gonzalez. And then to have it all work out and have it paid in full and then in the driveway, like, that's the magic that happens. But all the other things only start to get into effect when we start being. So the embodiment of it all is the magic secret. So how do we embody who we would be with our goal achieved? So first of all, if you don't know what you want, you can't have it. Second of all, if you don't know how you would be with it, so who you're being, then you stay the same because you attract who you're being. And then if you don't actually embody it and start showing up like that every single day, and one little thing at a time, simple thing, how can you get started from where you are? Maybe it's different jewelry. Maybe it's your posture. Maybe it's going to the gym. It's the one little thing that you could get started with now that helps you step into that version of you. And then one foot in front of the other, and then many, many more things will start to fall into play. So what else would you like to say? Is there another tip that we add onto that? So stage 1, decide. Stage 2, decide who you would be. And then stage 3 is to embody it.
Yeah. And so with the embodiment part, it's like really what you're doing is becoming like, it's like you're an actor and you're becoming a character. And when I say that, people get a little funny because they're like, well, you're just faking it. But the truth is you're not faking it, because I believe that if you focus on the idea of faking, your mind knows that you're faking. However, you are acting. Like when I go into Porsche acting like I'm earning 500,000, I am acting, because right now I'm not earning it. Now I've got to believe that that's what I want, is the 500,000 a year, and that I can have that. Like, I believe in myself that I have infinite potential and that I'm willing to do what it takes. And when I act like that, possibility is already there. So I make a decision that that's mine. And in the moment that I make the decision that that's mine, I flip myself to the frequency of that, and I start acting from that place. And so it's an act until it's not. So I used to hear my mentor, Bob Proctor, from stage. He would be like, yeah, people will be like, well, no, you fake, like, you're just telling us to imagine and fake. And like, he'd roll his eyes all big, and he's like, okay, fine. I imagined, I faked, I acted as if myself to a millionaire. Is that a problem? Because it worked. Like, because sometimes our mind can take us out because it feels like we feel like a fraud. We feel like it doesn't, like, who am I to do all this? But here's the thing, trust me, it's acting until it's not. And the point when it's not is when you've become it. And in that moment, you've integrated into the new identity that you've created. So the who that you are with that goal achieved. And when I say that, I'm thinking, because we exist on 3 planes. So I know like Heather knows this already. So she's taught this to you, I'm sure. Our thoughts, feelings, and actions. She's brought this up a few times. So we exist on all those 3 planes, and they've got to be in alignment with that goal achieved self. And the moment we do, it's ours.
I love that. And Dr. Joe Dispenza calls it coherence, right? Your head and your heart need to be in coherence. So note that Danielle said you had to believe that it's possible for you. You can't just desire it. The real secret is the belief, so that your unconscious mind truly does believe it's real and not that you're faking it. And then you've got to step into that version of you, because your best life is waiting for you. And I used this on a client the other day, and Danielle and Bob have said it before. Well, your way's not working.
Yeah.
Try mine.
Totally. That's usually in my intro, Heather, because that's how Bob punched me in the gut. I first heard him speak, and he's like, because I thought, I'm here, like, I know all this already. I've read Think and Grow Rich. And he's like, okay, but you're $100,000 in debt. Like, so obviously you don't know it, you know? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So if you don't, if you're like thinking that faking it to make it is not going to work, well, you know, Bob's got years and Danielle's got years of experience and so many clients where they've proven that it works. Because remember, your mind knows no difference between real and imagined. And right now you're actually playing a character that you were conditioned to be by the model of the world you grew up in and the circumstances and the belief systems that you were taught. So right now, you're not actually being the person you chose to be. Most people are not. 95% of our thoughts, feelings, and actions a day are habitual based off our unconscious mind. And our unconscious mind is running the show, and that is the beliefs and the world that you grew up in that made that computer program that you operate from. And so right now, you're actually pretending to be somebody else you were conditioned to be. So what if you just decided to act as the person you want to be, in the way of a life that you want it to be, not in the way that society conditioned it to be for you? What if you got into the driver's seat? And I wouldn't say it's faking it till you make it. I know you've said it before, it's doing it till you become it, or embodying it until you become it. And so that's an opportunity for you today, is to really decide what you want. Start to be that person and embody how that person would show up. And I always like to say, would you have that thought? Would you have that feeling? And would you take that action if your goal was achieved? And if the answer is no, then we're not embodying it. And that's like the quickest check-in. Would I? Oh, no, I wouldn't. Okay. So I'm being old version of me, which gets me more of the same. So I'm going to act as if and embody that new version of us. And this is easier said than done, because like I said, we do things habitual. So then it requires us to be present. And in the present state is when the magic is happening. So how can you get off autopilot and practice being more present so you can consciously embody that new version of you?
Totally. It's so good. And I would say, like, in the beginning, it feels so weird. Like it feels like everyone knows that you're a fraud, that you're acting so differently, but they don't know. Everyone else is so concerned about what they think that you're, what they think of you, or vice versa. Like, they're so worried about what you think of them. They're not thinking of you. And you talk about the idea of like skinny jeans. Do you have a pair of skinny jeans, Heather? Have you ever had a pair of skinny jeans?
I do have a tight black pair.
So, when we wear like the skinniest jeans for the first time, like we just get a brand new pair and we put them on and we're like, I'm not sure, these might be like too tight, and we're not sure, but we really like want them. And so we walk downstairs and our family member goes, "What are you wearing?" And you're like, "Oh no, I knew it." So tight. This is how it feels to put on like a new image, to become her for the first time. It's like, we're like, walking differently, talking differently, interacting differently. And people are like, "Who are you?" And they're looking at us funny. Same thing with the skinny jeans. But then the more you wear the skinny jeans, the more you be her or him now in your present sense, in your present tense, like Heather was saying, the more comfortable you become. And so what I find, just like with skinny jeans, in the moment you walk down and people are looking at you, and then you think like everyone's turning their head. It's not true, but it's just like the perception. What they're doing really is it's projection of the fear that's in your subconscious mind that they're just showing you, right? But as you walk and you practice and you go down the different streets and go to the cafe and wear them again on Tuesday and again on Friday, before you know it, you're rocking those skinny jeans and they're your favorite freaking pants in the closet and we can't get them off you. Feel so good. And that's the same with the self-image.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so, how can you rock those skinny jeans or that new version of you, that best version of you today? And regardless of how other people expect you to show up, how you've shown up previously, regardless of what current circumstances are, because you're the author of your life, you're the designer of your destiny, and you get to decide. So, it doesn't matter what other people think. And what matters the most is what you want. And it's absolutely possible. I know Danielle and myself are helping people do this every single day. So I dare you, bet on you, step into that next best version of you, decide what you want, and know it truly can be yours if you choose to embody it.
So good.
And so, what would you like to say for your last piece of advice? And where can more people learn about you, Danielle?
Yeah. Well, expect abundance is how I like to end every interview or talk and in my podcast, because we get what we expect. So are you expecting abundance in your life? Are you expecting things to work out, or are you assuming the worst? And it's the easiest way I find to clean up our energy and expect what you want.
Yes, I love that. So expect magic and miracles and expect abundance. And Danielle's got an amazing free gift for you here today, and that's in the link in the description. So you have an opportunity to truly own it and step into that new version of you. So grab your freebie and build your richest self and your richest life with these money mantras. So I know I will be grabbing these immediately after the show myself. So guys, the link is below in the description. Make sure you grab that. Thank you, Danielle, so much for being on the show, for your energy, for your knowledge, for your wisdom, and for the light that you are in this world.
Thank you, Heather, for having me. Thank you to all of your listeners and the people in your community who are here with us today. I'm grateful for your time.
I'm so grateful for you. So everybody, remember, stay happy, healthy, wealthy, and what is the best that can happen? We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.